It's hard to believe that we're already talking about not only October, but the October issue of Down East magazine.
Lots of foliage in this issue,
love that.
too. Brian Kevin is the editor-in-chief of Down East magazine. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Let's kick it off before we dive full on into foliage.
Right into it.
Kick it off with a couple of Maine moments.
Sure.
Got some great photos in the Maine moments.
Yeah, this is this spot at the front of the magazine where we kind of get our National Geographic on a little bit. And one of these images is by Heidi Kern. It's a shot where she tells the story of walking through the old port, through the Portland waterfront, and seeing just this Hitchcock-esque flock of seagulls that were drawn to somebody who was processing fish. And the moment that was captured here is one of minor terror, as she describes it, but it sure looks cool.
That is actually slightly terrifying. We've experienced that moment in the parking lot.
Yes, all the time.
Before.
Yes, we've
and
all
the gray
experienced
skies help as well.
Yeah.
The next one called Little Outdoor Giants.
Oh yeah, so this is a pair of photographers who work together. They go by Little Outdoor Giants. And this was a shot that they got, I think it was down at the outlet of where the Kennebec comes out of Moosehead Lake. Classic spot for anglers in the state. And as it's that time of year, as we wind down to the end of the fishing season, they got this fellow and his waders and tell the story of what a perfect characteristic moment it was.
You of course love getting photos from your readers. You
Yes.
have a photo contest.
Thank you for mentioning that. Our ongoing annual photo contest is open to submissions through October 4th, and it's actually images that don't end up winning the photo contest sometimes end up on these Maine moment pages. So there's all kinds of ways that this work might end up in the magazine, but we get some really, really amazing stuff. If you go to downeast.com right now, there's details about the timeline and the entry fee and the judges and the specs and everything else, but it's really fun to watch everything come in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's that time of year that lends itself to being photographed, and you did a big deep dive into fall and foliage.
Imagine if we were to not do foliage in October, we would get a lot of angry letters. We look forward to it every year. So we sent Benjamin Williamson, who is our staff photographer, out on a little road trip. He has been saying for years, send me to Western Maine, send me to Western Maine. And it's the foliage epicenter in a way. But we said, Ben, you can't go to Western Maine every year. Well, this was his year. And so we've kind of traced a little road trip that makes a little elbow around sort of Route 27 and Route 2, starting at the Keyser Lake area, working your way up around Bethel and through Farmington and up to Eustis and Stratton. And like, if this doesn't make you want to get out for a weekend in the next few weeks, I guess I don't know what will.
What was it that made you map this specific route?
I think it's the kind of most bang for your buck kind of ideal. I mean, that's a pretty well-traveled little corridor there as you make that right angle. But you still feel pretty off the beaten path by the time you get up around Bigelow and Stratton and that. And there's so many little spots, as you can see here. These are like places, and we kind of point out where each one is, where you can just pull off to the side. You're not going down the Golden Road for 30 miles and like, ping-ponging over logging roads or anything. And still you get this kind of back and beyond splendor.
Well, I have to say the combination of Ben's photographs and foliage would be pretty hard to resist.
He lives for this stuff.
Yeah, I know. Literally. I look forward to that. And we were just talking before we started that the foliage really has begun in some areas of the state, and you guys have a little bit of a profile on somebody who's keeping an eye on that for us.
Her name is Gail Ross, and she's a 30-plus year veteran of the Maine Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. She has a neat job. She is our state's foliage czar. So if you've ever visited mainefoliage.com, which the state has kept up for decades now, they've been tracking this stuff since the middle of the 20th century, and her job in this time of year is to draw from a network of, I guess, forest rangers who have been sort of trained to like analyze the intensity of the color and the percentage of the leaf drop, report back to her. She collects all this data and puts it out. I see it on Instagram. I don't know if that's where you guys see it these days.
Oh, interesting. I've seen it in a couple places, but I haven't on Instagram. That's a good
cool
place
to live somewhere where someone's job is keeping track of this stuff, and she was an interesting conversation.
Well, it's interesting to find out how they've been tracking too.
Oh yeah. I want the job of being a guy who sits in northern Maine and just watches the leaves and takes notes.
One phone call a day. Okay, I got to rest.
Yep.
All right, Brian Kevin, editor-in-chief of Down East magazine. We love the October issue, and it is out on stands right now. Thank you so much for coming in. 2:07, we'll be right back.